Quick word before starting this video. This video will be split up in multiple parts, mostly because if it isn't, it'll be over 2 hours long. I also want to go ahead and apologize for the pronunciation on some mobs. When recording this, I wasn't aware how to pronounce some mob names. Since it's officially a month away till Hytale's release as of recording this, I thought it would be a perfect time to go over every single dev blog posted on the website. And we'll be skimming a lot of the outdated information or the less important things, because believe me, there is a lot. So in 2018, right after the original Hytale trailer dropped, we got a blog post about going over some of the UI. If not, most of this is now incorrect information, but we'll still be covering it for the sake of the video. They mentioned wanting to show off a deeper side of adventure mode, and even back then they mentioned how it was likely to change. These images show full character customization, mentioning multiple colors and being able to mix and match outfits and items. Afterwards, they showed a map menu, how you can use it to find friends in dungeons, and much more. The post goes on to mention how they're making crafting more seamless. And one of the best ideas to them was to add a crafting menu, much like Terraria or Minecraft. To speedrun this last bit, they talk about how they want to experiment with the crafting ingredients to make weapons stronger. And then finally, they go over tooltips, showing higher rarities and other traits that the weapons have, much like a dungeon crawler such as Diablo or even Minecraft dungeons. Our next blog post is in 2018 on the same day. First it goes over Quebecs and it mentions how they have a completely different social life than us, and a whole different culture. Then they go on to mention how the life cycle is super important for Quebecs, as they grow old and release energy and become more like a tree that they resemble. When the elderly Quebecs reach the stage of life where their seed falls to the ground, and then that forms the next basis of the next generations of Quebecs. It goes on to mention how Quebecs never get to meet their own parents, and how tree singers are the elders who take care of the young Quebec and teach them the way of life. After this, the blog post goes on and talks about Torques. They make for difficult enemies, having different shapes and sizes and even different classes. Each Torque class has a different behavior pattern. When fighting Torques, the player has to be ready to change their playstyle at any moment. The blog post also mentions how Torques are not the only enemies with complex behavior patterns. So on top of all that, it would be super easily editable by the modders in the game. Gonna speed up this last bit here, but animals are in the game, obviously. The Hytale team wants to make the game feel real and living. So to build out the world, they added saber-toothed tigers and chickens and so much more that we just don't know. And every single one of them are gonna have super unique traits, just to make the world feel a little bit more alive. Monsters are the next thing the blog post tackles. There was and is a lot of monsters planned for the world of Orbis and even the other worlds in the future. Much like an action RPG, the bosses won't be just suit up with new armor, new weapons, and just go solo them. You have to learn the boss's patterns and the enemies to truly overcome them in this game. Just like a Souls-like, if that makes sense. Then, they mention after all of that they don't want to spoil the boss content, which I think is very valid. I wouldn't want to either. Then, after all of that, they show us an image of a cat, which, look at this little guy. He's fucking cute, dude. He's fucking cute, dude. Look at this little guy. Bro, he's fucking cute. Then, they show us a pigeon, which, I'm not a New Yorker. I don't know what these things are. And then, lastly, a snake. Just kidding. The pizza that we're gonna eat. Look at this little baby Quebec. We're gonna eat this guy. This next blog post covers the journey of Hypixel Studios, and I likely won't touch on this long because I want to focus more on the game's content rather than Simon and his journey. That's a completely different topic for a completely different video. TLDR, Hypixel Studios started as 2 people making maps for Minecraft. Then a little bit of time went by, and then the duo thought it was a good idea to make a Minecraft server. Little by little it grew, and as we all know by now, Hypixel will turn into the largest Minecraft server in the world, hosting Bed Wars and Skyblock, and so much more. And this is the blog post where they announced the start of the downfall of Hytale. Riot Games became a majority investor inside of Hypixel Studios. Not inherently a bad thing. Even now, Riot Studios isn't bad. They did try their best for a long time. Anyways, this blog post announces that investment, and thanks to the community for being so amazing. Another blog post here that we're just going to skim over because it was mostly stuff from a 2018 FAQ. And that is very outdated. They mentioned no release date, of course. The mention of game modes such as Adventure Mode, Mini Games, Creative, and an actual big one that I still care about is Hytale is T14, unlike Minecraft being E10+. Then a lot of useless information afterwards, such as, will my Hypixel stats be shared? And a lot of other outdated questions that we're just genuinely not going to cover here. because it just doesn't make sense for the topic of the video. The next blog post for Happy Holidays, once again, it's not too important, so we'll skim it. It starts with mentioning how viral Hytale has gotten to at that point, and how they talk about the combat system and modding is very important to them. This blog post tackles the fog and weather system that was added in the last update, with a video included to show us the differences. In said video, the effects of the weather was turned up to the max to really show us how pretty it could be. This was only a small glimpse into the game at the time, and they thank the community and everyone else at the end of the blog post. This next blog post is a big hitter, and in fact, it still really matters to the current build of the game releasing in January. World Gen 1.0. The world of Orbis is broken down in 6 zones, and each zone has their own unique aspects, such as their own biomes, their own rules. Let's look at Zone 1 for example. It has several biomes such as the forests, lakes, hills, ravines, and so much more. And every zone has their own unique POIs. On top of all that, every zone also has their own NPC race, plant life, and mobs. They even have their completely unique weather and world gen. Every zone will also have their own unique coastline. Even the underwater has the unique world gen in 1.0. There'll be a point in the ocean that has a heavy drop-off and you'll find yourself in the deep part of the ocean. The deep ocean is practically a zone of its own. It's said by the blog post that the deep ocean is a very difficult task to venture forth into. But past the ocean is where you'll find the infinite world generation. It mentions the story of Hytale will never take you there, but you can go venturing there yourself. The world of Hytale is up to you how you explore it, so explore the world as you wish. Obviously, there's an underground world gen as well. This is where the caves and dungeons will reside. Each zone and caves have uniquities to them that won't be shared by other zone caves. As you expect, caves have a lot of monsters that will need to farm for resources and items. And yes, caves are completely procedurally generated based on the rules of the zone that you're in. Dungeons have multiple chambers and encounters connected by passageways, often ending in a final room or a boss room. Dungeons are just one way the prefabs are used in Hytale. I'm not going to touch much on the prefabs because it's a lot of useless information to players. But prefabs are used for rocks, trees, special encounters, dungeons, and so much more. The blog post proceeds to talk about portal dungeons. When you're able to unlock a portal dungeon, you'll enter a hand-designed structure. All these structures will have their own rules and terrain inside of the portal dungeon. You can only break certain blocks and place a limited amount of blocks. These dungeon tasks will be very difficult for you to overcome. It tasks you to use different skill sets than you are normally used to. What you find in these portals will be massively different depending on what portal you entered. The 2 current ones that we know about right now are the Temple of Gaia and the Garden of Elements. This information is from the blog post itself. Now I'm going to skim the last bit of this. A bunch of the refabs and biomes mixing make happy little accidents. Much like Minecraft, some prefabs and terrain mixing can just make stunning sights, such as ravines under lakes, rivers that cut through mountains, and so much more. Obviously, all of these things will be completely editable by mods and so on. Completely easy. Let's go visual modding. Frick yeah! Music and another FAQ. Another thing that we'll just skim over here because, it's a lot of outdated information. They announce and show off some tracks by Oscar Garvin, the creator of all the songs for Hytale so far. Shout out Slamma, by the way. Then once again, they proceed to thank the community for being so supportive. The first thing on the FAQ is about the beta, and as we know, that ended up never happening. Cooked. Then, onto the programming language Hytale is using. Only for them to not tell us for some reason. I really don't know why they didn't answer this in this blog post, because the next blog post completely goes over the programming language, so it's very weird. Then, they go over why they had no social media at the point in time. And TLDR, they said they were focusing on the game and not focusing on outside community work. I'm gonna skip around a bit here because we don't need to know if they were hiring in 2019, because, we just don't. They go on to mention that Hytale will support multiple languages on the start of the beta. And, once again, between you and I don't think the beta ever happened. With that, I'm gonna end this FAQ a bit here. So, let's continue to the next blog post. Hytale Model Maker. And, that one was scrapped. So, I guess we'll continue to the next one? A lot of this blog post is out of date, so take this all with a grain of salt. Plus, we're skimming. Also, I know nothing about this, and I'm just quite literally paraphrasing what the blog post says. I am very sorry, I don't know nothing about coding. Hytale server overview. They mentioned Hytale is written in C#, and servers will be written on Java. I'm not going to give my input here because I'm kind of stupid when it comes to programming, like I just said. I know nothing. Hytale server tech will be a shared source. That means everyone and anyone will be able to read the server's code, but the game's client will be closed. Reason being, this will provide a common baseline for servers and players. It also provides a secure experience to guard against cheaters and other people, bad actors. Hytale is made for modders, so this means servers and modders will be able to change everything, from the UI aspects to the game to down to quite literally how the mobs work, even deeper than that. And when you join a new server, it'll download all the content that the server is running. Now, going onto the server browser, all of this was purely concept, so I don't know how much it was kept, if any of this. The blog post proceeds to say that they'll allow you to sort from filters, like what games you play, or would you like to play adventure or creative or mini games, and other factors such as languages and also a tagging system. Hashtag Hytale is saved. For server owners, you'll also be able to add banners and icons to your server as well. You could also favorite what server that you play on the most to make it super easy just to rejoin the server that you always play on. The Hytale server browser was going to be actively moderated by Hytale staff. I don't know if this is even going to happen here in the future, but I would really like a server browser that is moderated and we can see public servers. I think personally that's so much better than what Minecraft does, where you have to put in a IP to join. But with this server browser, there were going to be rules in place that server operators had to follow. Then they go to mention that they want to make playing with friends super easy. They mention adding a friends list to allow you to join your friends if they're online by just click of a button. This also allows you to connect to other players in adventure mode. To make this smooth as possible, they're using something called UPnP. I have no clue what that is. I'm quite literally just reading the blog post. I'm just talking just straight out my butt here. I'm just saying things. This protocol handles port forwarding for you. If this is unavailable, they'll try a NAT punch through. That means in normie talks like me, you can join a friend as long as you're both online. This next blog post is going to be extremely short and is about the key artworks of Hytale. All of these are time lapses done by the amazing Thomas Frick, made with Procreate and an iPad. The first one is of Zone 1 in a green swamp showing a swamp monster and a Quebec house in the far back. The second key artwork is of Zone 2. It's very sandy, unlike most drawings of a desert with bright blue skies. This one is way more intense and it feels extremely unwelcoming. The last one is of Varen, the main evil of Hytale, holder of the void magic. Like I said, I really wanted to skim these because it's mostly artwork, but thank you, Thomas, because these art pieces are genuinely amazing. Next blog post! This is about the block tech. And let me say this now. 1, it's a bunch of stuff I don't really understand. 2, there's so many videos that really just don't exist anymore, but this will be very short. They talk about how they want to show us how Hytale blocks are special, and they aren't like any other block game. The Hytale tools can change the color of any block to make things easier to build. Then they show us an in-game example of what it looks like. Then it goes on to explain transition textures and how they work. It's used to make smooth textures from grass to sand not look so abrupt. The blog post mentions that the Hytale model maker, this thing doesn't exist anymore. There is no Hytale model maker anymore. It's completely gone. And then they go on to submersible blocks. These are hybrid blocks like a chest and so on. Varied foliage is next. Hytale uses custom blocks for leaves to make no tree look the same in Hytale. Then we go into ambient animations. And everything after this is also unavailable. So we're going to skip ambient animations. And on top of that, we're going to be skipping particle effects and also interactions and animations because these videos are just completely gone. And we just can't watch them anymore. It's kind of upsetting. I wish we could. And that's the end of that blog post. But we're going to end part 1 here, because if we don't, the video would be over an hour long. So, stay tuned for part 2.